someone who really needs no introduction. Because who are we talking about here? And many of you might have already guessed it. We are talking about the most honorable, Audley Shaw, Minister. I almost said Minister of Finance again. You know, Mr. But we know him as. But Minister of Industry, Commerce and Agriculture. Did it include Fisheries Minister? Welcome, Mr. Shaw. You are
Welcome.
indeed someone Jamaica is proud of. And continue
Yes.
to do the work.
Yes, welcome, Minister Shaw. I do believe that Nielsen, having a few years as a stock exchange under his belt, remembers when you opened the junior stock market. And so perhaps he's still holding on to that, but we're going to encourage him to move on because the junior market has expanded. And now Minister Shaw is going to turn his attention to consumer debt and looking at how businesses and individuals can get the right assistance and the right guidance. Welcome again, Minister.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Nielsen and Ms. Williams, President of the CCRA. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
I am pleased to join you for this inaugural staging of the Credit Restoration Virtual Summit hosted by the Caribbean Credit Repair Association. Despite the ongoing challenges of COVID-19, we at the Ministry of Industry, Investment, and Commerce are committed and determined to using industry, investment, and commerce as key drivers in Jamaica's economic development. The Office of the Supervisor of Insolvency falls under my ministry, and we are keen to ensure that debt management is handled in a highly professional manner so that all stakeholders are able to rebuild their financial lives expeditiously. This virtual summit is unique in that for the first time in the Caribbean, we are experiencing in one place the conversation about both debt and credit. Access to credit is a valuable benefit which should be protected and managed wisely. An individual with good credit will be able to borrow money easily and will be able to borrow money at better rates. On the other hand, having a bad credit record means the individual has had difficulty in the past with paying back loans or with making payments on time. Lenders are less likely to loan more money to a person with bad credit, making it difficult for that person to buy a car, a house, obtain a credit card, or get money to borrow to start up or to operate your business. Therefore, credit restoration is an important part of the personal and consumer debt management process. The role of consumer credit growth and expansion of consumer financial services on the reduction of informal employment in developing countries is an opportunity to be harnessed. And let me say this. It is said that Jamaica's economy might have as high a level as 40% of informality. And part of the problem with that is either those who are in the informal economy either have no access to credit, or where they do have some access to credit, they have to pay money at extremely high interest rates, which end up making their businesses uncompetitive. So it is something that is really important for us to stress that even within the context of this Caribbean Credit Repair Association, I'm expecting that part of the message that this association is going to send out is to say to businesses, formalize your business, and you will be able to get access to cheaper money, cheaper credit, if you make it formal and you become transparent. Labor market research suggests that formal employment for 6 sectors, specifically manufacturing, construction, retail, food and accommodation, transportation and communication, financial services and administrative support, and finally, social and personal services. They are all dependent on access to credit. The increased availability of consumer credit may naturally necessitate the formalization of transactions and employment procedures. Workers are more likely to demand formal contracts in an environment of inclusive financial services, given the requirement of proof of income for access to loans. Monitoring payments and expenditures under electronic systems is a more effective way of combating informality for the government, given that most jurisdictions aim to improve regulations and infrastructure so as to spread the use of electronic payment technologies. So here again, electronics in the payment systems are now, and technology are now an important part of the process. And here again, the need for moving above the line in terms of transparency and in terms of formality is absolutely important. When the consumer has an unfortunate financial problem, the first touch point is the banks. However, the role of the bank is to expand the credit, not to restore the consumer's credit and good name with the Credit Reporting Bureau. Since 2010, we have been operating under a credit reporting regime. This means that your water bill, from your water bill to your hire purchase to your mortgage, is reported to our 3 credit reporting agencies. The 2015 Insolvency Act has gone a long way in clearing the legacy of shame that bankruptcy has had in Jamaica. However, there are no credit restoration professionals in the Caribbean. So in an effort to enhance consumer protections, we are committed to establishing an education campaign to make our people financially literate. As such, we applaud the CCRA in taking on the mandate to train professionals in courses such as credit restoration and funding options for small businesses. We need more of this type of training that immediately equips our citizens with the tools to start a career in helping members of the community manage debt with dignity, build back their credit, negotiate with bankers, and access more funding through having a good credit report. Remember, failure is not falling down. It's when you don't get up and keep on moving. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. Our focus on reducing the number of unbanked citizens and formalizing entities has helped us to communicate that a consumer credit report is a vital tool for wealth building. It is imperative that we deploy credit restoration professionals to support bankers before credit issues reach the courthouse. World Bank research shows that small and medium-sized enterprises in many developing countries still prefer their own sources as opposed to bank credit to finance investments and acquire working capital. Low rates of bank borrowing by firms in some middle-income countries might stem from the fact that bank financing is costlier for SMEs, or could stem from cultural differences regarding risk perception. That is not necessarily so in Jamaica, because a lot of companies in the informal sector have gone and borrowed money at 20 and 30% and higher in that setting. And today I want to make the point. I started it when I was finance minister, and it was mentioned that I established the Junior Stock Exchange in 2009. But in that same year, I'll never forget a speech I gave, because we were just too happy with high interest rates. And I said in a speech, if I have to haul the financial sector kicking and screaming into single-digit interest rates, I would. And guess what? I did. In Jamaica, I am proud to say that we have redoubled our efforts to providing access to affordable credit to SMEs. And just recent examples, the Minister of Finance announced a $5 billion special window through the Jamaica Development Bank, right? Where businesses, SMEs, will be able to access money at reasonable interest rates. We're talking about 6%. No higher than that. Most recently, we launched through an agency that reports to my ministry, the Exim Bank, a loan with an affordable lending rate of only 4.75%. We are committed to providing more programs of this nature in the near future. Nevertheless, if the expansion of financial services affects formal employment, the impact working through consumer services could be as crucial as the firm credit channel. My ministry remains committed to economic empowerment of Jamaican citizens and, by extension, Caribbean citizens. Credit restoration professionals are part of a virtuous circle of debt management with dignity and transparency. In closing, as minister, I stand firm with Jamaica's path to economic growth. Our various industries are a key source for investment, and access to credit by consumers is a key source for commerce. Again, I commend the CCRA for taking a bold stand to take on this issue, which is a long-standing issue and which has always needed to be addressed. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Minister. Thank you
Thank
so
you very much.
Yes, a few questions if you have a couple minutes with us.
Sure,
All
go
right.
ahead.
So one of the things that we've gotten in the comments is talking about looking at persons, getting help who are regularized. You've made mention of different agencies under your ministry. You have Exim, you have the Companies Office of Jamaica, you have partnership with the Ministry of Finance. There seems to be many moving parts. Yes. So where is there a one-stop shop then? Is there an information window on the website of your ministry that small businesses who, as you said, are duly registered and transparent, that they can get guidance?
Yes, well, I would channel them. They could go to the Exim Bank They could go to also the Jamaica Business Development Company, JBDC, and because they're outfitted to working with our SMEs in every way, including formalization and access to credit. Of course, the Development Bank of Jamaica, as you know, does not do direct lending. So they still would have to go through commercial banks. And there are other banks, for instance, Jamaica National has a very, very aggressive small business section that they're very committed to working with small businesses. And I have to say that even the large commercial banks, they don't want to be left out of the game. So they have set aside funding for SMEs at low single-digit interest rates. The key thing, however, that we must stress, and I know that CCRA will help us to stress it, the key thing is get formal.
Yes.
Formality and transparency are critical features of going forward.
Yes. We did not get the company's office on, but I understand that there has been a 1,000% increase during the COVID time of online registration of businesses. So that means, we're going to have to talk to the company's office to see where this bump has occurred, Minister. Perhaps that's something that needs to be publicized.
Yeah, so talk to them, because what I do know is that in every adversity, there is always an opportunity.
Yes.
In every crisis, there's a seed of greater benefit. This is one of them.
Yes. Nielsen had a question.
Minister, for me, and it's commendable what is being done, certainly through Development Bank and Exim. What I find though, and what you hear from businesses, is that even with all of this, it's difficult to access, because sometimes, the commercial banks will look at growing their own capital first and using the resources first. So that's one of the issues. But also the second thing for me is that while, as we talk about credit, sometimes adding more credit to already burdened credit burdened institution or individual does not offer the best solution. And
that's where we come in, definitely. Yeah. Nielsen, you set it up perfectly, because credit counseling, debt counseling is what brings dignity to personal debt management. Because if you're overburdened with credit, it means you don't have a plan, right? And that's where we come in.
In addition to that, though, Denise, is that the facilities offered certainly by the government are mainly looking to add more credit. So if we could look more at things like, and I know you did look at it when you were finance minister, I remember the discussion that stock exchange. We ought to look at more how you can participate more equity type financing.
Yes, Minister Shaw. Can you spend a few minutes talking about equity for small businesses?
That's what the Junior Stock Exchange was all about.
But what about the micro? What about the smaller?
I'm coming to that. Okay. Remember that when I became finance minister again in March of 2016, I had my first official act was to rescue the Junior Stock Exchange, which the then outgoing Minister of Finance was going to close down that very month. And he was closing it down in part at the insistence of certain institutions, including the IMF. I asked the IMF representative before I became minister again, why are you guys wanting the Junior Stock Exchange closed down? And they said, oh, well, And I said there are many other places, states of the United States, many other countries globally that have a junior stock exchange, which let's remind you, first 5 years, no tax on profit. Second 5 years, 50% tax on profit. And they wanted to close it down in Jamaica in March 2016. I stopped it. And subsequently, we have become one of the best growing stock markets in the world. Okay?
Yeah.
So now, fast forward. We now need to improve and continue on the path of encouraging equity financing. And I think that the establishment of a micro stock exchange, which the Junior Stock Exchange and the Jamaica Stock Exchange has put together a proposal for the establishment of a micro stock exchange. And I support it. And I already reached out to the finance minister, and I intend to reach out to him again and to the prime minister to say that the time has come for a micro stock exchange, which would be another step in promoting formality in the economy while providing resources at a reasonable rate on the basis of equity rather than expensive credit. So that's my next target, okay? But I'm not the finance minister. I'm not the finance minister anymore. So we have to work from the trenches and come up, okay?
All right, last question, Minister. Last question. We have a comment from YouTube, and it says here, will small businesses receive training for grant writing to access the opportunities that you've outlined?
Yes, the answer is yes. And that is where the Jamaica Business Development Company is involved. So I'm urging them, get to the JBDC, and those kinds of things, including training, is done by the JBDC.
All right. Minister, this has been amazing. And to just summarize, let's work backwards. So first, let's start at the top. You're like, become regularized. So the first stop is visiting the company's office of Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
So step number one, get regularized. And then the next step is to look at the options for credit, the options for grants, the options for credit for small businesses, because this is what drives employment. So you're very clear on your ministry helping to make the connection between credit, good credit, and employment growth. Employment growth.
And accessing money from the various windows, the Exim Bank, and talk to the DBJ or talk to the commercial banks about the opportunities that are at the DBJ. All right? And if nobody wants to give any answer, come to me, come to my ministry.
Yes.
All right?
So you have an open door policy.
Open door policy. Come to Manayard. I straighten things out.
Yes. Nielsen, I mean, I know that you're really excited about the micro stock exchanges. You have a lot of your clients
Denise,
need funding.
That's exactly where I was going, and I'm very happy to hear the minister mentioned it. Because as he rightly says, it helps to drive that formalization. And one of the biggest problems I know certainly for the minister, Minister of Finance especially, but generally for government, is the high degree of informality that abounds in industry in Jamaica. And when you're talking about even just for income for the government, the amount that goes down the drain because so many people are out of the system. And while they're out of the system and think it's good, there's so much benefits that they are missing by being out of the system.
Right, and let me add something to that. Among the benefits that they're also missing from informality is the opportunity to access windows that can help to make them more productive
Indeed.
and more profitable.
Indeed.
And one of the things we have to target more aggressively is the export markets, right? We must just be thinking on local markets. There are opportunities globally that we have to get our standards up so that we can rise to a global platform, right? These are things that we must have on our target.
Spot on, Minister. Spot on.
Because, Minister, before we let you go, I have a comment from the YouTube world. And for those of us who will watch the replay, right, I just want to make sure this comment is recorded. It says, here, I am so excited to hear that you continue to stand behind new and important initiatives such as this, Minister Shah. You are a blessing to us. And so we want to add our thanks to that endorsement. Yes. Thank you so much, Minister, for being a part of this virtual summit and, you know, bringing dignity to personal debt management is something important because so many people have increased their debt to cope with this COVID period. But we don't want anybody to go down and be buried in debt. We want to give them help.
Let's remember, failure is not falling down. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. God bless all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. Yes, blessings. All right, Nielsen, for those who are watching and commenting, we have a poll question. And yes, Miss Bridget says failure is not final. So we have a poll question. Nielsen, you want to read it? Oh, let me bring it up. Ha, 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 ha. All right. The technology is awesome. All right, here it is.
Can